bringing the people behind our food to life.
Today we're going to show you how to make Hazelnut Tassies. It's a twist on a recipe that came from my husband's grandmother called Pecan Tassies. And we hear from so many people during the holidays that their aunt or grandmother or ex-wife or whomever makes these exact same little tassies. They're sort of like miniature pies, but these are like miniature hazelnut pies. And so we decided to use hazelnuts rather than pecans because we're located in Oregon. We have so many great hazelnut growers in this area, and we wanted to use a local product to celebrate the holidays. And so we're going to get started. There are 2 steps to this recipe. We're going to make the dough and show you how to fill the mini muffin tins. And then we're also going to make the filling, which we'll put into the tins before we bake. And you're going to want to start by preheating your oven to 350 degrees. And that's approximate. If you have a convection oven, you can lower it to 325 degrees. It should be just a-okay. It's a very forgiving recipe, so no worries there. And then in a Cuisinart, which is where we're going to make both parts, both the dough and the filling, we're going to start with 2 cups of low gluten flour, which also you can find in the store is called pastry flour. But you are welcome to use all-purpose flour as well. It won't affect this recipe all that much. We use low gluten flour from Shepherd's Grain, which is a local sustainable grower. So we'll put the flour into the Cuisinart. Well, I guess it's a KitchenAid in this case, the food processor in any case. And then on top of that, we're going to put 8 ounces of butter, which is the equivalent of 2 sticks of butter. We use unsalted butter for a couple of reasons. Unsalted butter tends to be much fresher. Salt is a preservative, so when you buy salted butter from the store, the butter tends to not be quite as fresh as the unsalted. So we're going to use unsalted butter. We also like to use unsalted butter because then we can salt our recipes as we need rather than having a predetermined amount of salt in the butter. So we'll put the butter in there, and then very simply, you want to make sure the butter is cubed into small pieces. We're going to have 6 ounces of cream cheese that will also go right into the food processor. So those are your whopping 3 ingredients for the dough. It's not rocket science. It's super easy for anybody to do at home. We're going to pulse the food processor until the dough comes together into one mass. And you'll know that it's ready when the blade actually stops and the engine has come to a halt. And that is what the dough looks like when it's come together. So we have the finished dough, which we're then going to put into our mini muffin tins. And these are available at almost any baking supply company or even the larger chain stores like Target carries them. They run just about $10 each. The non-stick ones are great. They'll just save you a lot of hassle getting these out of the pan. And what we're going to do before we put the dough in, so we're going to butter it with a little bit of melted unsalted butter. So using your pastry brush, you just want to butter the molds up very quickly on all sides. And we'll set that aside. And we're going to take the finished dough and using a small scoop. This is called a number 100 scoop. And you can also get these from baking supply companies. The Pampered Chef is a great place to get a lot of this stuff if it's easier for you to order online. And so we're going to put a small scoop into each of the cups. And a number 100 scoop is the smallest of the portioning scoops that you can find. We use it in the bakery to make a lot of very small, cute cookies too, so you can use it for a lot of different things at home. Okay, so we have this in the pan now, each portioned out. I'm going to just gently tap these, and you can dip your finger in a little flour if you need to. Just tap them down so that they're flattened slightly. It'll help you to get a more even fit into the pan when you press them in. And you can press them in 2 different ways. You can do it with your fingers if you don't have a handy little tool that I'm going to show you. Or you can use basically a muddler, a bar person's muddler, or they also call it a tart stamp. And so I'm going to show you both ways. The first is to go ahead and just stamp right down and see how fabulously easy that was. Or you can get your fingers in there and just bring the dough right up the sides of each of the mini muffin tins, like that. But obviously the stamper works a whole lot faster and makes a little prettier cup for you. If you happen to break through the bottom of any of these, and you can see a couple of them are getting a little thin, you can take a tiny bit of dough and just repair it, and it's not a big deal. So don't feel as though you have to redo them. But you do want to avoid any holes in the bottom because the filling's a little bit sticky, and if it gets to the bottom of the pan, you're going to have a harder time getting the tassies out when you're finished. All right, so there we go. We're all set with the pan and ready to fill. So next we're going to make the filling, which is almost as simple as the dough was. So we have hazelnuts, and this is 1 cup of skinned hazelnuts. These are roasted. We buy ours from a local farmer called Freddy Guys. So if you can buy them pre-skinned and roasted, that's great. If you can't, you're going to want to roast them in the oven at 350 until the skins turn dark brown. Bring them out of the oven, wrap them in a kitchen towel, and rub them until the skins start to fall off. They don't have to be perfectly all the way off, as you can see. And the roasting really adds a whole lot of flavor too. So this is one of our favorite breakfast foods in the kitchen too. Brown sugar, and this is 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. Just a pinch of salt. We like to use sea salt. You're going to put in 1 tablespoon of butter, an egg, 1 whole egg. These are large, but no, they're all pretty darn close. And then just a teaspoon or so of vanilla extract. It doesn't have to be Madagascar. It can be the bourbon. This is great. As long as it's real vanilla, we're all about that. So we're going to put all of these ingredients back into the food processor and just pulse it until the hazelnuts have broken down a little. And it's become one contiguous mass. So just a tablespoon or so of the melted butter that you used for the pan, a little pinch of salt, a teaspoon of vanilla. I know you like how I measure. And that's it. We're going to go ahead and process that and then put it into the tart pans. And that's about where you want it. We pretty much often just take it right out of the processor with another clean 100 scoop and drop it into the tart pans. We finished filling these. We're going to bake them in your preheated oven for about 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, depends on your oven really. As you know, baking sometimes is not an exact science, sometimes it is, if you're making other things. And this is something you just want to test and try to get the centers of them completely set. So they'll be lightly brown, the crust will be lightly browned as well, but the center of each of the tassies will be set so that when you touch it, it doesn't give in. And that's it. So we've made enough dough and enough filling to make 4 dozen total tassies. And so we've just got 2 dozen here. We're going to put them in the oven. Okay, so we've removed the hazelnut tassies from the oven, and to check for doneness, we're going to press gently on the top of them to see if they give under the pressure of your finger. These do not, they're just perfectly done. And a couple of things that you can do for variations on the tassies is use another type of nut, such as the pecans that we mentioned earlier, which were in the original recipe. Pistachios, just about anything you want, I think would be amazing. You can also dress them up a little bit by piping a tiny bit of chocolate ganache onto each one once they've completely cooled, and top it with a whole roasted hazelnut. Makes them a little more festive for the holidays. And that is the Hazelnut Tassies. So enjoy. We hope you have fun making them.